What if the biblical city of Petra, or Selah, is actually HOVENWEEP National Monument in Utah? So what does scripture have to say about Selah, later known as Petra and Joktiel? So it says that Selah was overtaken in war. He slew Edom and took Selah by war. In Isaiah and Obadiah, the Bible places Salem within the territory of Edom. By addressing the people of Selah directly within prophecies regarding Edom. And by making that connection, it's showing that the people of Selah were included in the prophecies surrounding Edom. So this clarifies that Selah was in Edom. The Bible also shows that they took a bunch of captives in war up onto the top of Selah and threw them down, which sounds terrible, but that does show us that Selah was a high location, or at least had high locations in it. And Judges shows us that the border of the Amorites was from the ascent of Akrabim. I'm probably not saying that right, from Selah and upward. And I'm going to come back to this verse in just a little bit, so bookmark that. And if you look up a lot of the writings of Josephus and other historians, they also clearly place Selah in the borders of Edom, which I believe later possibly was part of Moab as well, if I'm remembering that correctly. So Selah was a town southeast of the Dead Sea, or the Salt Sea, as it's called in the Bible. And the word Selah means rock or cliff. Petra also means rock or cliff. Petra is known as the city of rock. It's described more as a mass of connected rock as opposed to like a detached stone or boulder. Here's another definition, mountain of rock. So it's, a big area of big rock, not just an individual stone. Okay, so if we go to the Great Salt Lake, which is the Salt Sea in the Bible, and we head southeast as described, that puts us right down in the land of Edom. So we have already established this area here as the land of Edom based on the location of Mount Sinai and other research that we have done. So I knew that Petra or Selah would be down in this area somewhere. I just wasn't sure exactly where. There's a lot of ruins in this area, but I figured it was here somewhere. But I was digging around and I found two big clues. The first one was I looked up the meaning of this word. Again, not sure how to pronounce it. But that word means scorpion, quite literally. And I was just zooming around on the map and I just happened to see this whole physical landmark area here is called the Scorpion. I did not put that marker on the map. Well, I saved that marker, but that is literally what it is called. This ridge line, or whatever you want to call it here, is called the Scorpion. And you can see that is just west of Mount Sinai, and then Selah is further east here. Okay, so then I was digging around in old newspaper articles and I stumbled upon this article in the Herald of Freedom. This article is from 1855. They are talking about extraordinary discoveries in Utah. It says last October, a party of Mormons left Salt Lake City to explore the southern sections of Utah Territory of which nothing was known, with the hope of opening a trade with the Navajo Indians, who are in that quarter and possess large quantities of goats, sheep, and horses, and are engaged in the manufacture of blankets, leather, iron, gold, and silver ornaments. The party returned on the 21st of December with the news of most astonishing discoveries. Among other wonders stumbled upon were the ruins of a large city, similar to the far-famed Petra in the eastern desert, surpassing it in extent. Dr. Huntington, head of the party, immediately published an account in the Deseret News, from which we take the following. So they went exploring and found a city that they just happened to describe as being exactly like Petra. And it just happens to be in the exact same area that we already have pinpointed as being Edom. Who'da thunk? It goes on to read that they traveled down. It says on the north side of the St. Johns River, about 500 miles southeast from the Great Salt Lake City, we traveled over a section of country, mostly among the mountains, and about 40 miles in length up and down the river by 25 miles in width, covered with the ruins of former towns and villages. The walls of many buildings were still standing entire, some of them 3 or 4 stories high, with the ends of the red cedar joists yet in the wall, some projecting 8 or 10 inches, but worn to point at their extremities. Every building was a fortification built in the strongest manner imaginable and in a style that the present age knows nothing of. Many of them still plainly show the whole manner of structure and even the marks of the workman's tools. The first ruins we discovered were 3 stone buildings crumbled to mere heaps. It goes on to talk about a fortified city. From here we traveled about 10 miles with occasional ruins by the way and entered a deep canyon with projecting shelves of rock, and under these shelves were houses or fortifications. The one we examined was divided into 24 rooms, each nearly square, and enclosing an area of about 144 square feet. The front of the wall was built up to the overhanging cliff, which formed the roof, and was curved and full of portals. The stones were all squared and faced, and of equal thickness, and laid up with joints broken in a workmanlike manner. The only entrance we could find was a hole about 2 feet square and 18 inches in the ground, which is the usual size of the doors, both outer and partition, with the exception of some subterranean entrances, which were yet smaller and more difficult to find. This article is fairly lengthy and it goes on to describe this city in great detail. I will include the link in the description of this video if you would like to read the whole thing for yourself. So with those descriptants under our belt, let's look at the map. So if we go about 500 miles roughly southeast of Salt Lake City, that puts us right in this area, which is right where Elath and Ezion Gerber is, or the giant's backbone. Mount Sinai is just a little bit to the west, and the San Juan River is right here. So San Juan would translate to mean St. John, and if you'll remember, they said it was just north of the St. John River. And what do you know? Here's HOVENWEEP National Monument right here. So let's look at HOVENWEEP a little bit. So I'm just going to share some images from HOVENWEEP. There are so many ancient ruins in this area. If Petra isn't HOVENWEEP specifically, I would say it's definitely in this region, in this area. I haven't been there personally. I would love to go explore it and see what I could find. And yes, I have been looking into Petra in the Middle East, and it's absolutely fascinating. But the more I dig into it, the more questions I have about it. I'm not quite sure what I think. So you can see this is definitely a city built on the rock. The Petra, so just a side note, the Petra in the Middle East, it's gorgeous. I'm not done researching it, but a lot of my questions actually come around the story of how it was found and who found it and who this person or people were and their history and their background. So I'm not going to go into that here, but I just wanted to point out that yes, I am looking into this. I do know about it, obviously, and there's some things I have a lot of questions about. So anyway, so HOVENWEEP in the Middle East, yes, majestic, also very Roman looking, also discovered by a guy with some questionable lineage, and HOVENWEEP. So I don't know, what do you guys think? If you've been there, if you have photos or videos, send them to me. I'd love to see them.